Coach JB with Hairdresser Power. Today we're going to be talking about layering techniques, clean lines with elevation, and hairstyles that are going to be progressive throughout the day and throughout the week. And we're going to bring in our first model, Daisy. Have a seat for me, my dear. Lift up for me forward, thank you. Okay, today with Daisy, we're going to be working on a long haircut, but with shorter layers. And when I say shorter layers, it doesn't mean anything that's going to be really short in through the top area, but I'm talking about with her length coming up to about here, we want to move her layers in through here just to give her a lot more lift up top, a lot more body, and a lot more movement, but it's also going to give her a lot of versatility. The first thing we want to do with Miss Daisy, however, is get her combed out here. What I'm going to do to make this much easier for me is I am going to spray her hair with some conditioning spray. That's going to help me detangle the hair, make it nice and smooth and shiny. It's going to close down that cuticle, but it's also going to keep me from coming back to the water bottle throughout the service. So the less I have to spray it down, the more I can be efficient with the cutting that I'm doing. I'm just going to lift her hair up and spray right underneath there. Concentrating on the ends and then working my way up through the mid shaft and then closer to the root area. Then I'm going to take my wet brush and just go ahead and brush that out. It makes life for me and my client much easier. Does that feel like it's going through your hair pretty smoothly?
It does.
All right. She's got a lot of hair, which gives me a lot more freedom to put a lot more layering in her hair. Now, when I cut layers, the most important thing for me from the very beginning is to find out where my client parts her hair. The reason that's important is because it's going to determine the type of layering that I'm going to do. If she's going to be parting her hair in the middle most of the time, then I can pick it up and cut it. But most people don't do that, and that's what I'm talking about, a layering technique that's going to be more efficient and more conducive to people who wear their hair parted to one side or the other. Which side do you like to part your hair?
I go straight through the middle.
Straight through the middle. We're going to change that today.
All right.
We're going to pick a side here, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pick a side. I'm going to let Daisy's hair tell me what it is that it wants to do. Is that okay with you, Miss Daisy?
That's perfect.
All right. And the technique I use for that is called plissage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb her hair back, and I'm just going to take her hair and push it forward. And that's going to tell me where her hair wants to split. So you're a little off to the left. Is that all right?
Perfect.
All right. Now I want you to take note on how long Daisy's hair is. There's no way that I can be efficient and effective cutting this length with Daisy sitting in the chair. If you look at what's going on in the back here, there's a lot going on that's interfering with the cutting that I have to do. I got the chair, I have her shoulders, I have her body position that I have to fight, and I have her head position that I have to fight. So what I want to do is I want to separate her hair from the front to the back. Same technique. I'm going to take this hair and I'm going to lift it up. And that's going to tell me where the front separates to the back. On the other side, if you take this hair when it's wet, you can't do this on dry hair because it's not going to work for you. But if you take this hair when it's wet and you comb it down and you lift it away from the head and you take your fingers in a scissoring motion and you just push that hair up, give it a little bit of bounce, and it's going to tell you where it wants to separate. Now, what you're going to realize is on most people, it's not going to be the same on both sides because the head shape is different from one side to the other. So when someone tells you go 2 fingers behind the ear, 1 finger behind the ear, that's good, for getting close, but if you want to be more accurate, you let the head shape tell you what the hair is going to do. So since her hair is so long, what I'm going to do is ask Miss Daisy if she would mind standing up for me. Thank you, my dear. And we're going to move right here. Okay, so now I want you to look at her body position compared to what it was when she was sitting in the chair. Her legs she can't cross her legs. I control whether she's leaning one way or the other. I don't have the back of the chair to fight, and I'm a lot freer to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have her stand nice and straight and tall for me, right there. Do a quick little check, and I want your chin parallel to the floor, okay? When her chin is parallel to the floor, I know I'm cutting a straight, clean line. I'm going to take this middle section right here. I'm not going to try to cut all of this at once. There's no way I'm going to get a clean, straight line if I try to cut all of that at once. When I control the hair, I feel like I can control it better with my fingers than I can with my hand. Now that's a lot of hair to cut, and it's really, really thick. So I'm going to use the Enjoy Professional Power Cutting Shears. They're 7-inch shears that are serrated on one side and smooth on the other side. So the serrated side grabs that hair and holds it in place, and the smooth side does all the cutting. And what that gives me is hair that doesn't move as it's getting cut. So I'll know I have a nice, clean, straight line. So I'm going to control the hair with the scissor action in my fingers. Now, what I want you guys to notice is that she's looking straight ahead. Her chin is not down. A lot of times they say, put the head down and cut that length. But what that gives me is a line that gets more convex right here. Okay, and so I'm not going to have a nice straight line. If I want a straight line, I cut a straight line when her head's in the natural position. And then I'll show you where we go from there. Can you guys see that okay? And I'm just going to remove that hair. Nice clean line. The reason that line is nice and clean and nice and straight is because my shears were actually holding the hair in place and the hair didn't get pushed. And now I'm just going to bring down that next section. And I always, always, always comb from the top of my part. That's going to be cleaner for me and less work that I have to do later. Same thing. And now I'm just going to go back to the other side and connect those two sides. Now I have a nice straight line that goes straight across, but here's what I want you to watch, okay? This is really important. Daisy, can you put your head straight down for me? Can you see what that line did? Okay, put it back up. See our nice straight line here? Okay, put your head straight down for me. Now can you see the arch that you get right there? Now if I tried to cut this arch in to make sure that her line was straight, I would never get it right. So if I cut a straight line first, then put her head down, and now I'm going to comb this hair down right to the skin. And this is the graduation that we're going to move there. You guys want to get in close so you can see the graduation that's going to be removed when she puts her head down. Now, do I have to create another line? I don't have to create another line. The line that I've cut is already there. You see our graduation, and then you see the line that we've already cut. Now I can just follow that line straight across. Now the attention to these haircuts, especially at the very beginning, it's all in the details. If I want a nice, clean, straight line, I can't play guessing games. If I want the layers to be at a certain length, I can't play guessing games. And we'll get into the guessing game scenario here in just a second. So now I got a nice, clean, straight line. Put your head back up, and then boom. Nice, clean, straight line all the way across. So we went from here straight up and down, concave when she puts her head down. So now I know I have a straight line. So even when she puts her head down and you see this arch, we don't walk around like this every day. We don't walk around with our heads down. That's how I can ensure that we're going to have a great line. Turn this way and face. Perfect. What I want you to do is keep your chin parallel to the floor and look straight that way for me. Perfect. Now I just take my guide straight from the back, okay? The reason that I have her turn her head is because now I'm clearing the shoulder. Okay, you can see how my line drops down right here. It's because this hair is traveling to the front. But the only part of it that I have to worry about is right there. That's my guide. So it's going to look like it's being a little bit more inverted, and then I'm going to take it straight across. But when she turns her head back to where it goes, you can see how that line's going to be straight. So I'm going to find the longest point that's connecting from the back. But here's what I want you guys to look at. If you notice where that longest point is connecting from the back, it's exactly where we separated the front and the back when we began the haircut. See my longest point right there? That's exactly what I'm connecting to. All right, my dear, do you want to turn your head the other way, chin parallel to the floor? See how my section that I'm working on clears the shoulder. Turn your head straight for me. There you go. I can't guarantee anything when I'm taking this hair and elevating it out this far to get my line. I want that as close to the skin as I possibly can and as close to 0 degrees as I can possibly get it. So if I turn that head, that's going to guarantee me that I'm going to get to 0 degrees elevation. The longest point. Notice that when I comb down, I use my comb as a level. And I follow my comb with my fingers instead of pushing the comb down with my fingers. Look right here at me. Beautiful. The problem that most people have when they're doing haircuts like this is framing. How do I do it? Where do I start it? Where do I end it? How's it going to be the easiest way for me? Framing is as easy as going from point A to point B, okay? And here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you guys something that's going to make your life so much easier and so much more efficient. The first thing you do is determine how much framing do you want to see. That's the most important thing. How much framing do I want to see? And that's going to be determined by the density of your client's hair. Daisy has a lot of hair, so I can be really aggressive with the framing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how far back do I want that framing to go. I'm going to take her framing to right in front of the ear. Okay, you guys see that part there? Turn for me. Right in front of the ear. So I know that this is going to be my point B right here. Okay? Point A is determined by me. How much do I want to see? What direction do I want it to go? What shape do I want it to be in? And we're going to get really aggressive. If you noticed, I changed out shears. I'm using a 7-inch point and slide now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up that hair and I'm going to take this first comb and I'm going to bring it underneath the hair. And then I'm going to take the second comb and come right over the top of it. I'm just going to sandwich that hair right in there. Just like so. I'm going to set my angle. Okay, this is where it gets really, really easy. Turn your head for me. Perfect. I want Daisy's framing to start as high up as her cheekbone, and I want to work it all the way through. So I can set that comb in there. And set that framing in. It's almost going to look like a bang. Okay? Now, why do I use my combs to do that? Because I can create one continuous line from the top to the bottom. If you look at my combs and you look at my fingers, you can see the difference. My comb is longer, my comb is straighter. So I can do one continuous line with my comb a lot easier than I can do with my fingers. So each time I stop and start again, it's a chance for me to create an imperfection. Okay? So if I use my comb right in front of the ears, that's what we said, right, Miss Daisy?
Yes.
I'm in a lot more control of the situation. There we go. Point A to point B. I knew exactly where I wanted to start, and the hair actually told me where I wanted it to end. Okay, now that we've gone through, we all know how to cut a long 0 degree. That was just me trying to show you guys how to be more efficient with it and being a little bit more accurate with how you cut it. She stands up, her body position is going to be better. She's not going to be leaning from one side or the other. She's not going to cross her legs, so it's going to be a lot cleaner line for you, okay? So if we can get that great foundation started at the very beginning, it's going to make life much easier for us as we go through the rest of the haircut. So let's talk a little bit about layering. The most common problem that people have with layering is balance, okay? The reason that we don't get balance when we layer is because a lot of times we will take the hair straight up and cut it, and most of our clients wear apart to one side or the other. So I'm just going to show you something here really, really quick. Something that we don't think about, but we do on a regular basis. So I just want you guys to stop and change the way you think and change the way you're looking at things, okay? So if I were to take Miss Daisy's hair and set my guide in through the top, that's how most of us cut layers. We pick the hair up from straight up 90 degrees off the scalp, pick it straight up and cut it, and we set our guide. The problem with that is when that hair falls, you can see the imbalance in the layers. So up here, where no one wears their hair, it's a perfect line. I know I cut that guide even, right? But now when I let that fall, you can see the difference. Get that out of your face there. So up here, it's even. Down here, however, there's a big, big discrepancy. And that's the problem with a problem that a lot of us have with cutting long layers. The way to fix that is we want to cut the layers where they live. Okay? Layers live down, they hang, they move, they swing. And so if we cut layers up here, instead of cutting down here, we're never going to get the right swing, the right movement. And let's say I want my layers to sit right here, and so I figure that out, and I pick it up, and I cut it, and then I bring it down, and for some reason my layers are always shorter than I want them to be. The reason is because we didn't take into consideration the round of the head that the layers have to travel on to hit that point. So up here they're going to be one length, down here they're going to be another. So the way we fix that is we predetermine what length we want the layer. So I'm going to spin you so everyone can see what I'm talking about here. And I'm going to use two combs again because the combs are longer than my fingers and straighter than my fingers. I need to put on my glasses here, sweethearts, because we want this to look good, right?
Yes.
All right. All right. Once again, I'm going to use my 7-inch point and slides. So I'm going to go right down that middle section of the hair. And you know, the hair is based on an octagon. That's something that we can talk about later in your salon or over the Hairdresser Power website. You know, if you want to know about the octagon, log in there, shoot me an email. I can explain the octagon to you a lot more. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that hair, Comb it out nice and smooth. Now at this point, I can set those layers anywhere I want to. Now I want you to see how my combs can encompass this entire section of hair and how my fingers can only encompass about half of it. So at this point, I'm going to determine what length do I want those layers. And we said they're going to be up pretty high. Okay? And I can use this as a guide all the way around. So if my layers start here in the back, they're going to start here on this side, and they're also going to start here on this side, because this is going to be my guide all the way around. So if I'm cutting these layers where they live down here instead of up here, I know that my layers are going to be the same length all the way around, and I'm going to have balance all the way around. Couple of different things I can do, but I want her hair to kind of break up and shatter towards the bottom because she has a lot of hair. I have that luxury. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hair and I'm just going to lift it out a little bit. As a matter of fact, let's start this over. I want your layers to be a little bit higher. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Right about there. So now I can do one of two things. I can point cut. I can slide cut. I can angle out. I can angle in. I can elevate. I'm going to elevate slightly, and I'm going to point cut. And as I work my way to the bottom, I'm going to start to slide those combs a little bit. And slide it all the way through the ends there. Now I have the layers that start up top and they continue all the way through the bottom and just release a little bit at the bottom because I started to slide those combs a little bit. But you can see what I'm working with here. This is where I'm going to work the layers all the way around the head. I wouldn't get that consistency if I lifted it up and tried to do it from the top. And that's the one problem that I hear. We travel around the country, we do these shows, we do education, and the one thing that I see more than anything, and the one problem that I hear more than anything is, how do I get my layers to balance on each side without doing a lot of texturizing and a lot of thinning? Okay, we are working in this industry to be efficient, and the best way to be efficient is to do it right the first time, and then instead of going back and doing it, and then coming back and trying to fix any mistakes that we made while we were doing the haircut. So I'm going to take this next section in the octagon, and remember, if you have any questions about the octagon, we will put that on hairdresserpower.com and we'll explain what the octagon is to you. And I'm going to take the section that I cut last time, the section that I cut in the center of that octagon on the previous section, and that's going to be my guide. And you see how much hair I have in here? You guys see that entire section? It's a lot of hair. But I am not doing a precision haircut. This is not a precision haircut. This is what's called a condensed haircut. It's condensed layering. I'm bringing all the hair together and I'm using one central guide for the whole haircut. But you can see exactly where my guide is, and that's where I need to be. This one I'm going to slide out a little bit more, and the reason I'm not point cutting so much on this side or on the sides period is because of my hairline right here. I want to preserve some of the length in here on the sides. So if I point cut too deep in here, I'm going to leave holes. So on the sides, I'm going to go ahead and slide that out and extend it all the way through the bottom of the shape. In the back, where I have a lot more surface hair to work with, I can point cut and be a little bit more aggressive. But when I start working to where the hairline starts to raise or recede, I have to be a little bit more conservative with what I do with the haircut. How you doing down there?
Perfect.
It's getting kind of light, huh?
Yes.
You're going to use a lot less shampoo. Just going to put that out there for you. One other thing that I want you guys to notice, okay? This is very, very important. I'm going to lift these up here. The one thing that I want you guys to really pay attention to is the fact that when I come around and I do these sections, where I separate the hair here is the exact same spot that I separated the hair when I was cutting the perimeter length, okay? The reason that is you're still working and a transition area from the back to the front or from the front to the back. Just because you're doing layers doesn't mean that that transition area changes. It's gonna be the same. And if I come too far forward, I run a risk of cutting into A, the framing that I cut in, because remember we went pretty deep with that, and B, creating a hole where the hair recedes up around the ear. So I'm going to the exact same spot where I separated when I was cutting the perimeter length. What we decided to do today with Miss Daisy, like I said, because she has a lot of hair, we decided to go long hair with shorter layers. You see my guide right there? So if I keep using the same guide, there's no way that one side is going to be longer than the other. That is the key, okay? You set your guide in, and that's going to be your guide all the way around the haircut. And you set your guide in exactly where you want the layers to be. That is important. You decide where you want your layers to be, you put that guide in, and then you track that all the way around the head. And here I'm just going to slide the combs out. Remember, on the sides, I got to preserve a little bit more length because of the recession around the ear. You can control the hair by using a scissor motion with your fingers and pulling that through the comb. I see my guide from my last section, and I'm just going to go ahead and follow that out. Look at the motion that I use with the shears. Very small, very deliberate motion. So now if you look at my layers all the way around, everything is the same. Can you guys see that in there? Everything is going to be the same all the way around. So I'm already eliminating that angst that we get when we're cutting layers, and halfway through it we realize this side's going to be longer than the other side, and now I'm going to have to go back and fix that. I don't have to go back and fix anything, okay? Am I going to go back and do some detail work? Kind of personalize it a little bit, do some work to where 6 weeks from now she's still wearing it well? I'm going to do that, yes, but I'm not going to go back and fix mistakes that I made during the haircut. I'm going to cut the heavier side first. Okay, remember our framing. Where did we say it was going to end? Front of the ear, right in front of the ear. So I don't need to cut that. I don't need to cut that at all. I am going to take a little bit of it with me so I'll know what to connect to. But here's what I want you guys to notice, okay? This is very important when you're cutting this front section. I'm going to leave that out, but I'm also going to leave out the perimeter length that I've already cut around the ear. Can you see the C shape that we're starting to create right there? If you don't create that C shape, if you leave this hair in and too much of this hair in, you're going to shatter your perimeter. And then you're going to be telling your client, you wanted it a little shorter, right? That's what we talked about. And she's going to say no. And then you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. Now I'm going to take from the center back, okay? Because where's our guide? This is where it all started, okay? We're always going to go back to this. I'm going to take from that center back, and I'm going to connect those two. Can you guys see the C shape that we have in there? It starts right here, and it just works its way right around. This is the hair that I'm going to cut. I'm not cutting this hair. I'm not cutting this hair. I'm cutting this hair right here. I can't stress enough for you guys to always remember that your starting point, where you decided to put those layers to begin with, is the most important point on this haircut. Now, we're working right above that recession that's right by the ear. So I'm going to lift up a little bit, preserve a little bit more length. Can you see how I'm just sliding those combs out more towards the end there? And I'm just going to do that until the hair completely falls out, just like so. Can you see those layers right here? And as you track around, I'm not going to move my comb, I'm just going to spin the chair, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Here's my layers here, And I'm spinning the chair, and you can see those layers are still living in the same spot all the way around that shape, okay? So now I can't make any mistakes at this point, can I? At this point, the layers on this side are going to be exactly the same as the layers in the back, and they're going to be exactly the same as the layers on the side because I cut them where I wanted to live, and I never forgot where I came from. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but don't forget where you came from. This is where you came from, and you're always going to go back to that every single step you make in layering this haircut. By the time we're finished here, Miss Daisy, you're going to be out there doing long layers. Okay. Difference on this side is I have a lot less hair to work with, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the hairline and leave a little bit more hair above the ear. Taking it all the way back to the center back because we can't forget where we came from. Now, can I cut all of this hair I have in my combs right now? I sure can. And here's why I can do that. I know I'm not going to shadow outer perimeter. Why? Because I got it out of the way. Okay? That's huge. See this right here? This is my guide. Where did I get that guide? From where I came from. Never forget where you came from. That is going to be my point of emphasis all the way through this octagonal shape. Don't forget where I came from. No matter what panel it is that you're cutting, you're always, always, always going to go back to that. And if you notice on everything that I've cut today, I've kept my scissors moving throughout the whole shape. Everything that I've cut today, my scissors have been moving out towards the end. That's always going to preserve the length for me. See our layers here? See our layers here. Here's what is really going to throw you guys off, okay? If I took this section and this section and lifted them up, this section is a lot longer, okay? Can you guys see the difference there? But when I bring them down, see where they live? Think about where the hair is going to live, not where the hair is. It's going to live down here. It's not up here, okay? Now we're going to have a little bit of fun. I want to remove a little bit of weight out of these layers. So I'm going to take, since she has so much hair and I want it to look a little bit chunkier, I'm going to take my 16-tooth texturizing shears. And remember, I said we are going to go back and detail this and make it hers, make it mine, make it last. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section and I'm going to remove some of the bulk. But I want my texturizing to be a little inconsistent because then I know it's going to lay it a little bit softer. So I'm going to take these combs, close it up, and I'm going to give 1, 2 twists. And I'm going to lift that hair straight up and texturize right out through, okay? I can pick it up and just cut it, but it's not going to be as soft. You can do 1 twist, you can do 2 twists, you can do 3 twists, you can do 0 twists. It's all up to you. With the amount of hair she has, I want to do 2 twists. And all I'm really doing is softening things up. Because we've all had those situations where our layers grow out a few weeks later, and it's like, almost looks like she's wearing a hat. Almost. This is going to help prevent that. Remember, I said we're going to talk about how to make our layers last 6-8 weeks. So 6 weeks from now, when somebody sees her, they will tell her, oh my gosh, I love your hair. Where do you get it cut? And she's going to say, well, I'm going in to get it cut tomorrow. They're not going to believe her because it's going to look just as good then as it does now. All right. How does that feel for you, Miss Daisy?
It feels light.
Feels light. It moves, it bounces, it's even all the way around. and which is what you want, because like I said, 6 weeks from now, you're not gonna look like that. We don't want that, okay? What I'm going to do with Miss Daisy is she's going to go off and she's going to get styled. You know, she's going to get some body, some movement in her hair. I still have a little bit of detail work that I want to do on her hair, but I want to do that dry. I want to do that where the hair lives. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that. And then when she comes back out, you're going to see the nice, beautiful movement, the soft shape that she has in her hair. She has great hair, wonderful hair that you can do a lot with. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to go through and do a little bit of detail work. We're going to customize this hair a little bit, make it better for her in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Because remember, longevity is the key. We want her to love her hair 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, just as much as she loves it right now. So we're going to do a little bit of customizing, some detail work. We're going to do some blending, softening it up. A lot of times as hairdressers, we don't finish the job. Okay, and that's the key. You have to finish the job. It looks absolutely beautiful now. You can see that we've got that lift that we wanted. We got that movement. We got that high framing started. But to finish the job, I want to lighten up some of the weight. Remember, she has a lot of hair, so I want to break it up a little bit. I want to do a little bit of blending. When I finish the job, it means that 8 weeks from now, she's going to love her hair just as much now as she does 8 weeks from now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out to my 16-tooth texturizing shears. And I just want to remove some of this weight in through this top section here, because it all falls down pretty heavy because of the amount of hair that she has. So I am going to take that framing out, because that's a totally different movie that we're talking about. I'm going to take this hair, and I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to come underneath that and cut a C shape out. So what I'm doing is I'm removing the hair underneath. What that allows me to do is remove the weight, but since I'm cutting the hair shorter on the underneath, it's still going to give me a little bit of lift. So I'm still getting that push from the underneath to give me a little bit of lift. If I come here and remove the weight this way, the shorter hair is going to be pushing down and it's going to flatten out. Okay, so I want that shorter hair underneath so it pushes up and gives me that lift and fullness, but doesn't leave a heavy weight line underneath there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that all the way around the head. C-shaping. You can be as aggressive or as passive as you want to be with it. I'm going to start a little bit closer to the scalp, not too far in, because can you see that flex in the hair right there? That little bit of flex. If I cut below that flex, that's going to give me way too much support, and it's really going to pop that up. Okay, I don't always want that. I can get that if I do a little bit of back combing or you know, something to that effect, but I don't want to cut that in there because now she's stuck with that. So I'm going to come wherever that hair flexes, I'm going to come above that. And that's where I'm going to start my texturizing and blending. You can see the difference. Before we had a weight line there. You can see that starting to calm down in there and be a lot softer. So I'm just going to go ahead and track all the way around the head and do that. At first, when you're doing this technique, I want you to check every single section. I literally want you to take this hair, pick it up, and flex that hair on every single section. Flex that hair. And after a while, after you've done it for a while, you'll start to get to know where that hair is going to flex. It's going to be different on everybody. So at least the first couple times, flex that hair and see where that hair is going to bend. And once you find out where that hair is going to bend, you can go ahead and track around the head. But remember, if you cut below where that hair bends, you're going to start seeing the hair stick up too much in there. And you might even start to see a few pieces stick out from underneath the shape that you're cutting. So now what I'm going to do is, remember, we left this framing out. So it's completely disconnected. Now I know you guys are wondering, Because if you look at it, you can see the heaviness in that framing there, okay? So how do I connect that without cutting a hole? The power of over direction is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm gonna take this section here in my comb. I'm gonna use 2 combs here. All of this hair right here is framing, okay? We don't want to forget where we came from. So I don't have a problem taking this framing, even all the way down to that perimeter, all the way to this back section of the head here. I know that if I over direct this framing all the way to the back, that I'm not going to lose the integrity of that front hairline. So I'm going to take that framing all the way to the back. See that guide in there, and I'm going to blend this right out. Now, why do I do this last? Because if I do it first, I have no idea where I'm going or where I'm coming from. So I do that last to make sure that I don't cut out too much hair. You can already start to see the difference in the way that hair is laying there. You guys see that there? Big, big difference. We had hair and then it dropped down. We still dropped down because we want to preserve that length in there, but you can see how those layers gradually move right into place there. You're going to have so much fun with this haircut. Great blow dry in the back there. So I'm going to take all of this framing. Don't forget where we came from. We came from the very center back. So I'm going to take all of this framing to the very center back. 2 combs, because they're longer and straighter than my fingers. A question that I get asked a lot is, why do I do this on dry hair? When I do this on dry hair, the hair's in a more natural state. So it's going to give me a truer assessment of where the hair is going to live. If I do this on wet hair and I cut too much off, it's going to spring up too much and I'm going to have holes, okay? If I do it on dry hair, it gives me a much truer assessment of where the hair is going to live. So I can have a lot more fun with it because I know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, and why I'm doing. So at this point here, I can do whatever I want to. Now we're going to get a little creative. We're going to have a little bit of fun. The big dogs. 16-tooth texturizing shears. These things chunk. I can take chunks of hair out. I can make it really piecey, and it's going to give it a lot more movement, a lot more bounce. I'm going to take this hair up. I'm going to give it a twist here and one more twist there. I'm going to find that shortest layer, and I'm just going to remove some hair. Not bad?
Not bad.
Yeah. I'm going to lift that hair up. I'm going to elevate it. I'm going to give it 1 twist, 2 twists. Why do I do twists? Do 2 twists? Because I can, honestly. I can do whatever I want to do at this point. If you want to do 4 twists, do 4 twists. If you want to do 3 twists, do 3. I want to do 2 because I want to preserve a little bit of that movement in there. What do you think, my dear?
I love it.
I love it. I love it when they love it. Love it when they love it. I'm just going to do a little blending right in this front area. Anytime I do something on a parted surface, when I say parted surface, remember we talked during the parting off to the left. If I'm cutting hair on this side of the part, on the heavy side of the part, I am always going to over direct it to the light side of the part. That saves me a lot of headache, a lot of trouble, and it creates push short to long. And it preserves me a lot of length, so I don't have to worry about little mistakes because I'm preserving the length, so I can always go shorter. Okay, that should be another one of your models. Hair can always be shorter than it is, but once you cut it, you're stuck. So I over direct everything from one side of the part to the other, preserves my length, creates a lot more softness, and gives that push from the short to the long. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some molding paste from Enjoy Professional. Okay, here's what I want you guys to look at, okay? Molding paste, I'm gonna use it to add shine, soft separation, little bit of hold, but still create that movement. I'm gonna take this product and I'm gonna put it in my hands. I want you to put it on your hands like you're putting on lotion, okay? The reason why I do that is because we are not wax on, wax off hairstylists. We use our hands, we get into our elbows with it. So I put it all over my hands, get it between my fingers, work it through, okay? I want you guys to look at that. Okay, that product on my hands is now clear as liquid. It's gonna be a lot more pliable, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to distribute through the hair. Shake your head really, really good for me. Thank you very, very much. All right. Take a little bit of Enjoy Hairspray. I want you to lay your head back for me. Thank you. The reason I lay your head back when I put hairspray on is because I like hairspray to work from underneath. So the top of her hair is still touchable. You can feel it, but you're getting the hole from underneath. Now the beauty of the hairspray that I'm using right now is it's gonna be touchable and feelable. It's gonna be able to put your hands in it, but it's also gonna be workable. I can still get in there when we're all done and move it around. Remember, okay, we did a few things that are a little bit more technical. Go to hairdresserpower.com, ask those questions, we'll be able to answer those questions for you right there.